Hello and welcome to the Curator Salon podcast. I'm your host, Geeta Joshi. I'm a curator, an art dealer, a member of the Association of Women Art Dealers. I'm also the editor at Art Scene magazine, and these days I work mostly as an artist coach. Over the years, I've worked with artists in so many ways. Like I've been selling at art fairs. I actually sold at art fairs before I opened my own gallery in central London. And then alongside that, actually, I was even selling art online through other platforms, my own website, and even Amazon. Back in the day, Amazon actually had a fine art department. I think this doesn't exist anymore. But, building up a mailing list and things like that meant that I had an audience, and I would also take artwork to collectors' homes, had exhibitions in businesses, curated exhibitions that connected artists and audiences who really appreciated their work. And in doing all of these various things and finding different routes to market and so on, a really common question that comes up is, how can I get my art into a gallery? Or how can I get gallery representation? How can I get a gallery to show my art? Of course, the question always comes from artists. And in response to this, back in, I think it was about maybe 2022, I made a program called Gallery Ready. And it really answered all those questions, right? How to convey your credibility, what galleries look for beyond just the artwork itself. And the program is packed with that kind of question, but answered from the inside in a very transparent way, that insider guidance that actually works. And also we kind of look at like how to manage those meetings, right? Because I think a lot of times these questions are coming from people, it's like, it's just a one and done sort of thing, like what can I say? And what can I do to seal the deal? But actually, a lot of times there's going to be a time lag between being introduced to a gallery and actually being signed. And then, even beyond that, it's like actually having maybe a show with them or being in a group show or a solo show and things like that. On that subject, actually, most galleries will put an artist in a group show first before they ever give them a solo show. But it can happen, right? And again, this is something I really want to convey. And I've said it many times if you follow me on social media, that galleries are not a monolith. There are so many different gallery operating models, and it's really important for you to understand what kind of gallery model the gallery that you're approaching is actually working with, right? How they sell their art, how they reach their audiences. There are some that are very nomadic and they'll have kind of pop-up, they'll take pop-up spaces and, short-term rentals. Others essentially show up at art fairs, the big art fairs, and really that kind of is how their year is punctuated and not do quite so much in between. So it's really good to start kind of paying attention to any galleries that you might have on your radar, like where do they show, what else do they do, and so on. And I think, why artists struggle with galleries or securing their first gallery is that they just really don't understand the insider track. Many artists come to me with incredible work, but when I assess their readiness, they're just not quite there. They haven't got enough, perhaps, sales under their belt to show that there is market appetite for their work. And galleries, like using myself as an example, when I had the gallery, I wasn't thinking like, I just love the art. I was thinking like, can I work with this person? There's a bit of a vibe check going on. Would my audience, who already trust my curation, would they actually buy their work? Would this work fit into the taste and curation that I've been evolving? And would the audience I've built actually like this work as well to complement, the other work that I've been showing? So it's really more of a package, I suppose, right? There's a lot more considerations than the artwork itself or even the price point, which is also something to consider, right? The price point of your work, does it fit in with the price point of the things that the gallery already presents? So I designed this program to help artists kind of shape their credibility, how to actually present it and present their whole brand, I guess, beyond the artwork itself, to make it something that galleries would want to work with, actually open those conversations, because it isn't just about showing your work, it's about showing your value as a professional artist. And inside the program, I share insights that, you won't find in Facebook groups and forums and things, right? This is what galleries really want to hear, instead of can I show my art, you will learn to communicate how you actually bring value to their business, because we have to remember they are in business. And this is something else that often comes up, especially with artists who are very new to bringing their artwork into the marketplace, right? There's a confusion between the cultural sector and the art market, essentially. But we have to remember that galleries that represent artists are essentially in business. So, understanding that galleries are businesses, they sell just like any other business. So approaching them as a peer with a professional mindset is really, really important, rather than the kind of pick-me vibes that feel a lot more desperate and urgent, right? It's not a compelling business proposition. So having that professional mindset, but also having your own business, right? You know what goes into actually having a business. You know how to market your products, your artwork. So this is something we cover inside the program, but also how to work with multiple galleries, because for a lot of artists, especially in the early stages, having one gallery alone isn't going to be enough. They will usually want to have multiple galleries, and even if that is something that is built up over time, then that alongside their own channels to market, whether you're doing an artist fair or you're selling through your own website and things like that. So, I really teach artists how to navigate multiple gallery relationships without conflict and helping all the parties kind of manage their expectations. But then there's also the gallery ecosystem, right? The galleries are not a monolith, as I've said. Like, every gallery has a different approach, and it's important to know the logical next steps for your career. Or even though you might have your sight set on a blue chip gallery, you need to be looking at like what would be the logical next step. So, that kind of gallery that might be, I don't know whether you want to call it entry level, but it's what we call feeder galleries or the feeder system. But pretty much every gallery is a feeder gallery, right? They all kind of, even at the top end, right? There's artists that are moving around, from one blue chip gallery to another. This program has been amazing. I put everything into it, like all the nuances that I could think of. We've had live calls in there. One artist I worked with in there, he approached 3 galleries using the framework I share inside the program and received 2 offers. Another who was in a location that was very kind of tourism dependent, I guess. They secured representation after several strategic meetings because she knew exactly how to present herself and her work, right? It was not just like the idea of, I'm a local artist wasn't going to be compelling enough to this gallery. So, there's been a lot of aha moments for a lot of artists that have taken this program. And, one of the key things is realizing that galleries want to work with artists who are professional, but understand both their own value, but how they bring value to that gallery relationship, plus, of course, the baseline being like they are talented, painters and printmakers and so on. So anyway, the big news is I have decided to retire Gallery Ready, and I want to be clear, it's not because I'm bored or moving on. The program has accomplished a lot. It's helped a lot of artists get their first or second gallery and build their confidence, because understanding what happens on the back end is something that builds your confidence on the front end when you're actually having those conversations. And it's really helped a lot of artists navigate that gallery system successfully. So I'm retiring this program at the end of 2025 to focus on working with artists one-to-one, but also helping artists build their own businesses. Galleries should kind of fit into an artist business ecosystem in a way, like stockists, right? This shouldn't be the sole path to your success and your validation. So for artists to understand their own value proposition, you can make sales even in the slow months, grow your audience, approach galleries from a position of strength. Like, a gallery will have, let's say 20 artists, and, if they sell 20, 30 artworks, they probably had a good month. But if they only sold like 3 or 4 of your works, then that's probably not going to be enough for you to actually continue running your business on without taking another job, probably. So it's really important that you understand how these things fit together, right? The route through galleries, stocking your work shouldn't be something that you create some kind of dependency on. And, the work I want to kind of focus on for the coming year is really about helping artists build their own businesses, and then not centering the gallery, I guess, as the stock is for it. So this is going to be my focus, and I'm really excited to share that with artists in new ways. That said, there is still one last chance to access the program before it goes, and you can actually get it at a discounted price. So I will add the link in the show notes, and you can even play with Klarna for flexibility if you choose. Plus, enrollment includes a live call scheduled for January. You can see the date again on the link that I put in the show notes. The final opportunity in this case to ask questions directly. So if you dive in now, you've got time to actually work through the material and then bring any questions to me on our live January online call. So this is your chance to get that insider perspective from an art dealer, understand what galleries actually want, and gain that confidence to take the next step in your art career. So if you've been thinking about joining, well, now is the time. Don't miss out. Once it's archived and retired, it's gone forever. go ahead and check out the link in the show notes. So I want to say thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode has given you some insight, some confidence and inspiration for your next step, whether you're selling through galleries or you've got that on your radar for even if you've got a 2 to 5 year plan. Even though Gallery Ready is retiring, I'll be sharing new ways to empower artists and help them succeed through 2026. So stay tuned. And if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to the podcast.